Hi, fellows. Thank you so much for your likes and your subscriptions. And now it's time for the full video. So today I'll show you how to stream data from Twitter and in real time and put it on a map based on the Twitter user's location. And basically it consists of 3 steps, which we'll all cover in this video. So first step is stream or consume data from Twitter. Second step is produce this data into a Kafka topic. And the last step is to consume this data in the front end and put it on a map, all in real time. All right, so let's start. First precondition of all this is we need a Twitter developer account. So let's go to developer.twitter.com. Here you need to sign up. If you already signed up, you need to sign in. So let me quickly sign in. And next step is in Twitter, you need to create an app. So I already did it here at Twitter Kafka Code and Talks. It's the name of the app, but you need to create an own app here. Basically, you need to give it a name, you need to give it a description, you need to enter a website. So for me, I just entered my YouTube channel website. These are not required, but this is very important. So this app needs to be approved. And this may take 1 or 2 weeks, but you need to be very detailed in the description of what you want to do with this app. Basically, what I did is I just gave the following advice here. I want to send my own tweets to an Apache Kafka cluster and consume them from a front-end web page, which is not built yet. So a very high-level description, but this was enough to get it authorized. And then what we'll get here basically is some keys and tokens which we need. I'll not show them to you, but basically with those keys and tokens, we need to use them basically to authenticate our application. So for this, let's create a credentials PI file, and within your Twitter app, here you get 4 information. So one is an API key, then there is an API secret key, an access token, and there's an access token secret, and you'll need all of this later on. Next step then is to consume basically data from Twitter in Python. We will be using Tweepy, which has a very good documentation here. So first step, as always, would be to install Tweepy, of course. Pip install Tweepy, and I already did this up front. Why does it take so long? Ah, okay. So requirement is already satisfied as I already installed it up front. So next step, let's create a new file here, twitter.py, and start with some import statements from Tweety. So we need from tweepy.streaming, we need to import a stream listener. From Tweepy, we need to import an OAuth handler to authenticate with our Twitter app. And from Tweepy, we need to import stream. And then lastly, of course, we need to import credentials, so our credentials file, which we just created upfront. All right, now let's have a quick look into the Tweepy documentation. And first in the getting started. So we see that we need to set up this OAuth handler with our consumer key, consumer secret, our access token, and our access token secret. And I'm just copying those 2 lines here. Then I don't need to rewrite them. By the way, let's make it here a little bit bigger, like this. All right, let's copy those 2 files. And let's put them into starting our app. Sorry, like this. Name equals main. So whenever we start our twitter.py, we create this authentication object with our consumer key, consumer secret, access token key. But by the way, we need to put credentials up front, and I didn't name it consumer key, I named it API key and API secret key. So like this, and credentials dot API key secret. Was it the right API secret key like this? Sorry. And then once we have this auth variable, this OAuth handler, we need to set the access token for this. So auth.that access token. And the same here, credentials dot access token and access token secret. So access token and credentials dot access token secret. All right, so this will set up our authentication itself. Now let's have a look again into Tweepy and especially the streaming chapter. So basically, what it says here, we need to set up a stream listener. And here it says that the onData method of the stream listener receives all messages, basically. So we'll make use of this onData method of the stream listener. And basically, as mentioned here, we need to override this standard Tweepy class in our Python script to add our logic we want to have. So let's do this here. Let's create this or override this standard class std_out_listener, and it needs a stream listener as input. Now, as mentioned, let's also override the onData method, which takes two parameters, self and data. And in the first step, let's simply print out the data and return true if we get something. And let's also override the onError method, which also takes two arguments, self and status, and whenever there is some error, let's simply print it out. All right, so here we have simply overwritten the standard class and two of the standard methods, and whenever we get data, we just want to print it to our console in the first step. Now let's come back to starting our Python script, so where we've set up the authentication. And then next step is let's create a variable to instantiate a new std_out_listener in the first step. And then we can create a stream. Stream equals stream. And this takes two arguments now. One is our authentication object, so our auth handler. And the second argument is basically our stream listener here, so our std_out_listener. And now in the last step, we can filter our stream.filter. Let me check the documentation. My stream.filter, exactly. So we can make use of this keyword here, track, to track certain messages. So whenever there's the word Python here in a tweet, it will get streamed. So stream.filter track equals, and then a keyword, and let me choose as a starting, let me choose code and dogs. And basically that's it already to really stream data from Twitter. So let's test it at this point. Basically, let me make this variable name in lowercase letter. All right, let's go to Twitter and create a new tweet. And it should include code and dogs and a random message, whatever here. Before I tweet this, let's run our script here. So let's start twitter.py. and I got an error. No module named Tweepy Steaming. Okay, it should be called Tweepy Streaming. Again, another error. Tweepy is not defined. That's strange. I think I can just delete the Tweepy here. 401. Now I can't authenticate. So 401 means authentication error because basically I didn't enter my credentials. I will do this now. And now, final try. Twitter PI. It's running. Now let me tweet something. Let me put it next to each other. So I'm sending the tweet right now. So here's my tweet, code and docs plus random message. And here it is already in my console. So that was quick, right? So let's take this tweet, copy it, and let's search for a JSON beautifier, beautifier. And let's have a look at the data. So let's copy it. Let's create a random file here, tweet.json. Let's put it in. And you see, really, you get a lot of information here from this tweet, like the text, when it was created, further information about the user. So the username is code and docs, the website of the user, description, and so on. And what is interesting here, so you could also get geodata here, but unfortunately not if you post data from your laptop or from your PC. It only works if you post data from your mobile. So I will just spin up another tweet from my phone in a second. And let's have a look here at the console and the data then. So just give me a minute. Let's go to my Twitter profile here that you see that it appears. In parallel, I'm starting Twitter on my mobile phone. Just give me a second. Activate my location and create a new tweet. And it contains code, and dogs. I'm not so fast in typing on my mobile. Sorry. Test message, and let me change the location to whatever. So on the mobile you can really fake the location. Let me type in I'm in New York. That would be nice actually. Code and talks test message. Let's tweet it. Let's refresh. So here it is, code and docs test message. Like this. Let me click it. And you see here, tweeted from New York, from Twitter for Android. And it's already here. Let me again run it through a beautifier here. One step back. Process. And let's put it here again in our tweet.json. And you see now, you get more information here. So you have a place information here. With a name like New York, but also with coordinates. And basically it gives you a set of 4 latitude and longitude values, basically marking the corners of the city. And with those information, you can basically work already on a kind of map. But let's ensure this is really New York. Let's have a look at I don't remember the website from heart. It's something like latitude, longitude. Let's have a look here. Latitude is this value, longitude is that value, and let's find it. I have to lat long to address, longitude, latitude, convert, and you'll see it should be New York, and as mentioned, it's one corner, so the other Coordinates would be this corner, that corner, and something like this corner here. That whole New York here is marked. And basically that's it of our first part. So we can consume data from Twitter. Nice. All right, let's come to the second part. Whatever we consume from Twitter, let's produce it to Kafka. And basically, let's have a quick look on our architecture. So what we achieved so far is whenever a user tweets something, we can get it, so we can consume it in Python somehow. What we do next down the second step is, the same time we are consuming it in Python, we want to produce it to our event bus, to Apache Kafka. And let's take care of this now. So basically, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kafka already. If not, I would highly recommend it because it's really a powerful tool for real-time data pipelines and stuff like this. Meanwhile, it's quite easy to install it. So you just need to search for Confluent Platform, and Confluent offers a managed service of Kafka, but also an open source version here. So self-managed software, Confluent Platform. Just download it, unzip it, and Kafka is already installed. If you need more information on Kafka, because I can talk days about it, I did a previous video about this, how to start Kafka and Zookeeper, how to create a topic, how to consume data in a Kafka topic and stuff like this. I will put it in the links in the comments, but in this video I will just briefly jump over it. Basically, to link Python with Kafka, we'll make use of a library called Pykafka. But first of all, let's spin up our Kafka. And as mentioned, I will just briefly tell you some details about Kafka in this video. If you need more details, please have a look at my separate video. To get started, I made a cheat sheet here basically because I can't remember all the comments all the time. So let me move to my Kafka folder where I stored my Kafka, and let me spin up Zookeeper first. Then once Zookeeper is running, let me start Kafka itself. One second, is Zookeeper running? Looks like. Let me then start Kafka. A lot of things will happen here. Don't worry about this. Takes a couple of seconds. All right, looks good. Now once Kafka is started, we can create a topic. So let's create a topic and name it Twitter Data 1. Dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum. So now we got a new Kafka topic, Twitter Data 1, and the Kafka topic is basically a logical representation of an object. In this time, it's a topic containing tweets. And now let's go back to our Twitter PI. Basically, first of all, we need to import Pykafka. And from Pykafka, basically one special module. So we need to import the Kafka client. Furthermore, we need to import JSON, and we see in a minute why we need it. All right. Basically, at the same time we are consuming data from Twitter, we want to produce it to our Kafka topic. So first, let's create a small function, get Kafka client, which just returns our Kafka client. So as I'm running Kafka on my PC and not in some cloud, I'm giving my local host IP address here, and the standard port from Kafka is 9092. And this function just returns where my Kafka broker or my Kafka client is running. Now, in the onData method, let's quickly do some things. So first of all, let's create a new variable which gets our Kafka client. So basically, which calls this function and returns the Kafka client into the client variable. Next step is to specify our topic we just created. So out of the Kafka client topics, we will need our, what was the name? Twitter data 1. Let me copy it. We need this topic, Twitter data 1. And in the last step, let's check the Pykafka documentation. We need to spin up a Kafka producer, and we can do this with get sync producer. And once we have a producer running, we can produce a message with producer.produce message. All right, let's do this. So new variable producer equals topic get sync producer. So basically what this does is for this topic, Twitter data 1, we spin up a producer now, which can produce data to this Kafka topic. And once this is done, we can say producer.produce, and we can simply produce the data here to our Kafka. So data, but Kafka can only deal with byte data, so we need to encode it with ASCII. And then we return true. And let's have a look at this. So basically, first of all, let's spin up a Kafka console consumer. Again, I need to refer to my other video if you need more details on this. Basically, sorry, let me replace the topic name also with our Twitter data 1. Basically, what it does is it shows us the contents out of the Kafka topic. And currently it's empty. So it consumes data out of this Twitter data 1 topic, and there's nothing inside yet. So let's run our Twitter PY again. And it looks like there are no errors so far. All right, so our Twitter PI is running. Now let's make this a little bit smaller, put it here. Let's also put our Kafka consumer here, like this. And now let's create a new tweet. All right. Let me create a new tweet here, code and docs, test message 2. And let me put it next to the Kafka consumer and our Twitter PY and tweet. And soon it should appear here in our console. It's here. So our Twitter PI, it's printed to our console, and also in our Kafka consumer, it's visible now. So basically, those are the steps which are relevant to consume the data from Twitter and at the same time produce them into a Kafka topic. But we'll do some more steps here before we close part 2, because basically we imported JSON here for reasons. And the reason is basically after we print the data, we only want to produce data which contains geodata, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to put it on a map because we don't know where to put it, right? So let's create a new variable here, and with help of the JSON loads command, let's transfer this data here into JSON format. And once we have it, let's check if within the message the place is not none. So why we are doing this? Remember our tweet JSON here within the place, we got a couple of data, New York, geo coordinates and so on. But whenever I tweet something from my PC, I don't have any geodata, and in this case, place is empty. And in Python, this means none. So we only want to produce data if the place information is filled in the tweet. So if this is the case, so let's do it like this, only then we want to produce data. And basically, you might wonder why I'm not using the message here. I still want to produce the original data here from the onData method and not the JSON loaded stuff. So I keep this here as data and will not replace it with message. It was just transformed to JSON to really be able to go through the JSON information and check if the place is filled or not. Okay, at this point we can quickly check it. So let's save this. Let me see if I forgot something. No, it should be like this. Let's restart our Twitter PY. Come on. So now it's closed. Let me restart it. Twitter PY. Our Kafka console consumer is still running. So it's still up and running. And now let's create a new tweet. Dum-de-dum-de-dum, new tweet. Code and docs test message 3. Let's tweet it. And it's here in our Twitter PY console, but it's not here in our Kafka console consumer because it's filtered out. So here the print statement is before we check this, if the place is filled. Now to verify it one more time, let me spin up a new tweet from my mobile phone. So give me a second. Again, I'm not the quickest in typing. Dum-de-dum-de-dum, search my Twitter app, new tweet, code and docs, test message. Come on, 4. Let me assign a location, a new one here. Let me look for London. Would be also nice if I'm there, but I'm not. Okay, and tweet. Let me refresh it. Here is my code and docs test message 4. It's here in Twitter PY. You saw the update popped in, and you also see it in the Kafka console consumer. So we only produce data to Kafka which contains location information. And basically, this was part 2 of the story. Now let's have a look in what we are doing in part 3. So let's go back to our architectural overview. And what we did now is users entering a tweet to Twitter. We are consuming it. At the same time, we are producing it to our Kafka cluster. Now in part 3, we will create a front end in Python with Flask, and Pykafka, which consumes the data out of Kafka and provides an API that we basically can then consume or call from our front end, which is our map. And basically those 2 steps we will do together in the last and final step right now. All right, let's create the front end. So for this, I will create a new file, frontend.py, and we'll make use of Flask here. So actually, I never did a separate video about Flask. So if you're really interested in it, just drop a comment here and I can provide a full Flask tutorial. As we are using only parts of it, I'm not going into so much detail here, but it's actually a very easy to learn and powerful Python web framework. All right, so from Flask, let's import Flask. Let's import, I think we don't need JSONify. Let's see, JSONify, request, response, and we need later on a rendered template from Flask. All right, then again, we need to import Kafka client from Pykafka. Again, we need JSON. I'm not sure about this. We will see in a minute. And no, we don't need the time module here. All right, so again, we need to specify where our Kafka broker or Kafka client is running. So let's spin up the same function here, get Kafka client, which returns our Kafka broker. Kafka client host equals running on localhost on my PC on port 9092. All right, next, let's spin up our Flask app. So with this command, you can simply spin up a Flask app and store it in the variable app here. And then we can do we can define two routes here. One route would be the index, which is accessible on our main page here. And for this, let's create a function def index return, and here we will just create a placeholder because later on here will be our leaflet map. So to quickly show what this is doing, so this Flask route is basically our index of the page. So if first of all we need to run it, of course, front and sorry, I was too quick here. So before we can actually run it, we need to do the same thing again and start basically all this. If name equals main. In this case, let's start. So the app we defined here, we can start it with app.run, and we will set debug to true and specify the port as 5001. So debug is true is very powerful because I will show it in a minute. So let me first run it now, start the front end py. And you see it's running on localhost port 5001. Let me open this in the browser. 1 second, like this. So you see here, this is our main route, our index route, and you see here leaflet map. So whatever we return here from our index function is being returned here on the screen. And the powerful feature of debug equals true is whenever you change something here, refresh it, and it gets directly updated in the browser. Also, a short explanation on the routes. So if I would say something like home here, then this route would not be valid anymore. But if you would specify now a home route here in the browser URL, it's working again. But let me undo it. So because this should be really the index, the main page here, let me go back. And leaflet map 111 is displayed here again. All right, so far so good. We will spin up the leaflet map here in a minute. First of all, we will create a Kafka consumer in Python. So what we did upfront here in the command line, this Kafka console consumer, we need to replace it with a real consumer, basically in Python. So for this, we'll spin up another route here, which we'll make callable at topic, and we make this kind of generic for multiple topic names. So this topic name and this kind of lower upper bracket means it's a variable thing. And let's call the function get messages, and we hand in our topic name here. So this variable term can be handed in here to the function. Within the function, first thing is again calling this Kafka get Kafka client function to get the location of our Kafka broker and store it in the client variable. Next thing is now it gets a little bit tricky. So we create a new function within this function called events. And let me first write the comment and then explain it. I think at the same time it's too complex. So for let me also go back to the Pykafka documentation where we see on how to spin up a consumer. So here, consumer, we can do it on a topic with the command get simple consumer, and then we can just loop over the messages in the consumer. So basically, let's do exactly this. So, but we'll do it in one comment. So for e in client.topics, specify our topic name, and we'll did this dynamically. So we'll just choose this topic name here from the function from the route. And on this topic, we spin up a consumer. So get simple consumer like this. And basically, this loops through all the messages in the Kafka topic. And what's now happening is interesting. So basically, we have a function, and the function needs a kind of return. It needs to return something. But if we would use of return I, so if we would just return the message here, it would end the function and therefore just return one message and the function would be ended. This is not correct because the consumer must be kept alive because new messages will appear and appear all the time. It's a constant consumer, so we can't use a classical return. So we must make use of generators here. So if you're not familiar with generators, I can also make a separate video about this. Just drop a comment, but you should know that it's basically the same as a return, but it keeps the function alive. So it returns all the time. And this works with a command called yield. And basically we need to yield out or return, let me just call it a return, the value of the message. But as mentioned, Kafka handles everything as bytes, so we need to decode it to make it readable. And this would be it, but I'm making this a little bit more beautiful, so I'm formatting it a little bit. So let me call it data, like this. And so this is just for format reasons. Don't worry about this. Let me format it and then pass in the value of e in decoded form. And that's it for this inner function events. Now, as we are finished with this function, still this get messages need a return. And here we are not returning some static value. Here we are returning, come on, a response. And within the response, we are handing over this events function. So we are returning the response from the events function and specify the type, which is an event stream. So basically, this all the time returns all the continuously consumed event messages out of the events function and returns it to this route. So let's test this. So our web app still works. It's still up and running, and the route was topic. Let me make this next to the browser, topic / topic name. And the name of our topic was, let me check in Tweepy. It was Twitter data 1. Now let me go to this path here. And you see nothing. So this site can't be reached. And do we get some errors here in Python? Invalid syntax. What did I do wrong here? name equals main. Invalid syntax. I think I did something wrong up front in the statement before, because this should be working. It hasn't complained up front. I think I need to put the return into brackets here. Let me try again. Let me check if this still works. Yes, let me put this back in. This works. So you can see already that the data which is already in our Kafka topic is already displayed here. And basically now it's reloading all the time because it's waiting for more data, because this function here is not closed. It's still yielding out data. So that's why it's refreshing all the time. And let's quickly see if our Twitter PY is still running. No, it's not. Let's quickly restart it. And let's create a new tweet on my mobile phone. 1 second. So let me put this next to each other. Let me tweet one more time. Open my Twitter app. New tweet. Code and docs. Test message. I'm not sure where we are currently. Let me call it test message 5. This time let me change my location to Pune, India, and Twitter it. And it's tweeted. Let's wait. It's here in our Twitter PY console, but it's also here in our browser on our past topic Twitter data 1. We got a new message here. Cool. Now the only step left is the front end. For this, let's go back to our front end PY and change the behavior here behind this route. So first step is here we are returning a static value leaflet map 111. We'll make use of this render template here. This is a nice functionality from Python Flask. So we will return not a static text, but instead we return an HTML file with render template. For this, we need to create a new folder here called templates. And within the templates folder, let's create an index.html. And here let's create or spin up a basic HTML construct. Let's give it a title, Twitter live map. In the body, let's give it a header. Let's call it Twitter world map h1. And now let's have a look on how we can include our Leaflet JS map. So for this, let's hand over to our Leaflet or the Leaflet documentation, which has some really powerful tutorials here. And let's jump into the quick start guide. So basically, we have to prepare our page up front. So we need to include the Leaflet CSS file and the Leaflet JavaScript file important after the CSS file. So let's simply copy it. Did it get everything? Yeah. Let's copy it to our HTML file. Here in the header, the CSS and the JavaScript. Yeah, like this. All right, so first precondition met, we included the 2 leaflet files we need. Then we need to put a div element with a certain ID. Here the ID is called map ID, and we need to specify a certain height of it. So let's do this. Let's just copy it. The documentation is really well here. So let's also keep the ID map ID, and let's only change something here. Let's directly include the style here. So also this is not a good style in web development. Let's just do it because it's not the focus here. Let's give it a width of 900 pixels and a height of 580 pixels like this. So second precondition met here. So we got an own div with our map ID. And basically the last step is the JavaScript stuff in setting up the map here. But this we'll do outside. We'll not do it directly in HTML. We will do this in a separate JavaScript file. And for this, let's open a new file here. Source equals static. Let's call it leaf.js. And closing the script tag. And let's, for this reason, create a new folder here. Static. Within the static folder, create a leaf.js file. So, which is interlinked to our HTML file here. Let's go into the Leaf.js file. And here again, let's simply copy the comments out of the documentation because it's really well documented here. First of all, we need to create a known variable. Let's call it my map. And important here, we have to give it the same ID as we used in index.html here in the div. So let's keep the ID map ID, and we can give a set view, which taking latitude and longitude values, which we're changing slightly, or I think, yeah, let's change them a little bit to my values I prepared here. And so these are latitude, longitude values, and the last value is a zoom factor, and 13 is quite a big zoom in already. Like you can see here, this is zoom factor 13. It's quite close to London already. As we want to show a world map, let me simply choose 1 here, which is the highest or the lowest zoom. It's the farthest away, so you see the whole world with this. And with this, we are setting up the basic map, but that's not all, because one important step is missing, a so-called tile layer, which basically defines this style of the map and how it looks. And there are several different tiles which we can use. I'm making use of Mapbox here, which is for free. You just need to register at mapbox.com and you'll get your access token here then. For this, I will simply copy it and replace it with my access token afterwards, which I will not show to you here, so I will replace it in a minute. So as mentioned, this will specify on how the map looks. We're using OpenStreetMap from Mapbox here, and afterwards add it to our map. So now enough of copy paste things. Now let's add our logic. So basically what we need to do is we need to create a new event source. So let's create a new variable source and assign it to a new event source, which we will link to our API, to our route. So to /topic/Twitter data 1. Which is the route of our Kafka consumer. And JavaScript, it's always hard if you change from Python to JavaScript, you need semicolons, of course. Now, after we define this event source, we need to add an event listener to this source. So add event listener, which listens basically to events of this source all the time. And this takes an argument message and a function in which it actually receives the event E. So it receives the event E here in the event listener. And let's spin it up. It requires an additional argument false and close it with a semicolon. And here we can create all of our logic, which should happen whenever a new event So a new message out of our Kafka topic is received here in our JavaScript. And first of all, let's start with translating this event into a JSON format. So let's make use of JSON parse and let's translate the data out of the event into JSON. And as a starting point, let's simply log it to our console to see how it looks in the browser. And basically that's it. Let's start with this. Let's have a look at the browser. What's not so nice is you need to sometimes spin up a new browser window here and empty your cache here to make changes in JavaScript working. But yeah, let's have a look at the console, develop tools, console. And I think I need to create a new element now because this was already in. So let's create a new tweet. Let's spin up our Twitter PY. Let me pick up my mobile phone. 1 second, you will not see something, but I'm doing something. Create a new tweet. Code and dogs. Test message 6. Now let me choose another location. Let me choose Paris in France and tweet it. It's here, but it's not here in the console. Did I do something wrong? There are no errors displayed. Let me go to my JavaScript. Ah, okay, I'm not in the index here. I need to go to this route where my map is, my Twitter world map. And you see here, you get a lot of unauthorized. That's because of I didn't replace my access token here. We'll do it in a minute. But still, the console things are logged here. And let's have a close look into one event and the JSON translation of it. So we get here all the data. And here, actually, we get the place data in which we somewhere here get our geo coordinates to use. So basically now we can access them in JavaScript. So let's recap it. This is our event, and then we need to go into the place, to the bounding box, into the coordinates, into 0, and then we have 4 different coordinates for one city, and let's make it simple. Let's only take one. So again, we have to go to 0, and then we have an array of 2 values, latitude and longitude. So let's access this from JavaScript. All right, latitude equals to our object place. Then it was bounding box. Then it's coordinates. Then it's 0. And here let's take 0 again. And out of the 0, the latitude is the second value, the first element. Oh, my God. And don't forget the semicolon. And now do the same for the longitude. And the longitude is simply the first object, the first element here in this array. All right, now we got the longitude and the latitude. We also want to have the username and the tweet text. So let's search for the username. And it's here below, user. And in the user, you have a name here. So it's object.user.name. This was simple. And where's my tweet? Here, code and text test message 6. So it's in the text. So object.text, object.text, like this. All right. And what do we want with this information? With this information, we want to create a marker on our map. So let's do this. Let's create a new marker equals, let's not have a look at the leaflet documentation. I think I can do it. So L marker, and the marker takes latitude and longitude. So our lat and long, which we defined here. And the third element, which we don't need. And we need to add it to my map. So we need to add it to our map, of course. And we want to show the username and the tweet when you click on the marker. So we can make use of bind pop-up. And here we can use again inline HTML and stuff like this. So we can just say username, make it strong. So username. So what we do here is we give a static text, an empty space, make the actual username strong here, the username, which we get out of our event. Then close the strong tag afterwards and create a line break. Then specify the tweet text and again make the tweet text strong plus tweet, or what was the variable name? Tweet plus closing the strong in like this, closing the strong, and don't forget the semicolon. And that's it. So let me save it. Let me replace my access token, and then let's refresh it and spin up some new tweets. All right, my access token is replaced. Let me spin up the map again. Let me again open a new incognito window. Let me close and clear all my browser space. Let me spin up a new window. And you see it already. The 3 markers and tweets we created are there. So let me also open the console. Okay, still got an error here. Uncard type error, cannot read property bounding box of null. Perhaps there is a tweet inside without place information. Yes, so this should not happen anymore with new tweets. So as you can see, for the other ones, it didn't throw any error. And you can basically here zoom around, click on your markers, and you get the username and the tweet text. And to show you that it's working in real time, let's spin up a new tweet here. So let's put my Twitter PY here. And I'm now grabbing my phone. You will not see it. We'll create a new tweet. Code and docs. This is a live message. And let's tweet it from Toronto. And Twitter. Let's wait a few seconds. It's here. And the marker is being set here, code and docs, and the tweet is code and docs. This is a live message. Nice. So you can see it's really working. In real time, you get the markers here. But to bring in a little bit more action here and not only display my own tweets, I'll tweak it a little bit. And for our stream, we have set a filter here, and the filter is based on whenever a tweet contains the term code and docs. we can set different filters here. So let me comment this. Let's do it like the following. So we can also filter based on locations. And this means it will only filter out information or tweets which have a given location information. And there's one special, so if we hand in the following information, it will limit it to all locations. So basically this combination means all over the world, all tweets. And let's stop our Twitter PY. Come on. Save this first. It stopped, and let's restart it. And let me also, to really show to you, put in the map here. And now let's start it. Hit enter. Come on, what's happening? Nothing. Hit enter. Now you see there's a little bit more action. So some random tweet here from a user, I don't know. This was me. Another one here. If you have to look backward, only look backwards to see how far you come. Oh, what a nice statement here. And some more from, this is Syria, from Faisal. Something, I was already here. Actually, where is it? It's Chinese now. Okay. And a lot of more tweets are appearing here. One tweet from Brazil, nice. Another one from the Philippines. So actually there is some action. One from Turkey, close, on a boat. There's someone on a boat actually tweeting here. So a lot of things are happening now in real time here. I'm getting all the tweets. One from Africa, hi there. So this is working now and updating all the time. And that's also the end of the video now. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. See you soon. Bye bye.